Hi, so you have seen the video installing the project with Ilya, and today we will review the project structure and its files. So let's start with reviewing the source folder and how the source files are located, so we'll get a better hang when we will speak about the theme. So the core files consist of, the core directory consists of many directories, and the most important for us is the SRC directory. So in the source files directory we have four different directories. The first one is application, where the React and Redux files are located. Then we have a config, where our build tools are located, so Webpack, Babel, and so on. And we also have a public directory where we store our little amount of assets which we need to build a theme. Also there is a service worker directory which has its own files in it, but we will cover it later on. So let's start with the configuration directory, which consists of Webpack configuration files. The most important two are development config and production config. In development config you got all your source maps and stuff, and in production config you don't have them, you have only your minimized code, which saves a bundle space. And you mostly use those two, but in production there is also a Webpack service worker config which compiles service worker assets after the application is compiled. This is needed in order to provide the service worker pre-cache manifest for Workbox, so the application will know which files to cache on installation. The core config is used only for core development, and the difference is that the core config doesn't use the fallback, it only relies on initial files, while the production and development config uses the fallback if the file wasn't found in the project directory. So then we can also look at the Babel configuration, which is here and can be adjusted on your own needs. Note that this is not the Babel config default file, which is written here, so it cannot be added to your editor as reference to Babel preset, and we have the special Babel RC here, which essentially copies all the configurations, but is just for editor inspection. Then in application directory we have those 7 folders, which each and every of which respond to specific need. For example, in components we store only components which can be displayed in different places. In our road directory we store our pages and all the logic related to them. For example, we have a cart page, CMS page, home page, and stuff here. Note that we have an index.js here, which is the router main entry point, and we also have a router template here, which will be shipped into your package when you install the theme via installer. And this is done so you can easily extend the router with your own routes, and you don't need to copy all the logic from here. So this file should not be overwritten, and you may use you will use the router template instead, the router file in template instead. So there is also a query directory where we store our Redux, where we store our query buildings. For example, for cart query we have this get cart items, get create cart item mutation, and so on. So query directory is just responsible for storing query related code. The store is the Redux store files, so each of those directories have 3 different files in it or less, depends on functional. So it has action, dispatcher, and reducer, where action is just a declaration of the action which will be dispatched. Dispatcher is actually a handler for those actions which can dispatch some of those actions, so it's like a wrapper before actions. And reducer is a reducer which actually transpiles those actions into the state updates. We also have indexes everywhere, as you may notice, and those are simple imports, so you can easily use the quick reference. So for example, so we can easily use those reference as component.textPlaceholder instead of textPlaceholder.component. So just for sake of better usability. Going back into components, I would like to say that we have 3 potentially existing file names here. It's component name, .component, .container, and .style. So component is a rendering logic, container is Redux connecting and maybe data preparation logic, and style is just styles. Cool. So, and once again, we have this webpack alias file just for sake of better usability. Coming down, we have here the styles directory, which has an abstract folder and the base folder. In base folder, we style our application, the non-component files, so just basic styles, which can be applied to any HTML page, and they implement no class names here. And in abstract, we implement a lot of helpers to help fasten the development of theme. And as we may see here, the abstract includes variables, colors, media buttons, and loaders. Additional files can be added, and you have to note that this file, abstract.scss, is included in every style file of our application. For example, this file uses include media, which is declared in the abstract media file. This means that you can actually declare any abstract non-renderable style in abstract directory and later use them in any file in the project. So going next, we have a utility folder, and utility folder is just responsible for utilities. And there is no specific file structure here, but we recommend using the folder and the files in it. So very simple, just in order to have this flat structure. And here we have some helpers regarding CSS, working with browser, working with authentication, promises, and so on. So those are just helpers which we use within the application.